was really considering ending my life at that moment. Having my girlfriend at the time leave me with an empty apartment and a note. My ex-wife taking my child from me, who was really little back then. And a voice in my head say, you're meant for more, is all a lesson in what I was supposed to be becoming.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Auto Grade Podcast. My name is Daniel Lugo. I'm your host, and today I have the pleasure of having here Daniel Anderson. Today is going to be another day of another story that I think you guys are going to like. So please take out your notebooks, take out anything that you want from this podcast. So, Daniel, can you please introduce yourself to the podcast?
Yes, I'm Daniel Anderson. I'm a spiritual alignment guide, and my area of expertise is working with empaths and highly sensitive people who feel overwhelmed by the emotional energy around them. They absorb things that aren't really theirs to absorb and don't even realize that they're holding on to it. So I help them through that and do energetic protection rituals and just some spiritual guidance as well.
Perfect. So, the first question I want to ask, was there a moment in your life journey when you felt that you were at rock bottom that didn't see the light of day?
Oh, where do I even start with that one? I've had several times where I thought I was at rock bottom, but the one that really sticks out was back in 2012 when I was faced with being unemployed, having my girlfriend at the time leave me with an empty apartment and a note, my ex-wife taking my child from me, who was really little back then, and also being evicted from my apartment. So I was pretty much absolutely down and out then and was really considering ending my life at that moment. Was formulating a plan on how to do it. And then I kind of felt, I felt this darkness around me, this bad energy, this everything that I just couldn't explain at the time. And what happened was, I was really coming up with a plan on how to do it and was going to execute that plan. But then I felt a hand touching me on my shoulder when I was home alone. And this is temporary and it's going to pass. And you're really here for a purpose. So snap out of it and things will be better. And just like that, all that feeling of wanting to end my life, of that utter despair, just disappeared. None of my circumstances really did at that moment, but all the despair that I was feeling was just instantly gone.
Oh, that's a powerful story. So, out of a sudden, you went from thinking about suicide to saying, I have a deeper purpose when I keep fighting. What, you just said the tap on the shoulder in your head, the voice in your head that told you, but what motivated you to actually keep going, to get out of that darkness? Because I know from experience, it's not a single thought that gets you there. It's a lot of work that has to be done to get out of there.
There was a lot for me to do and a lot for me to process at that point. Like I said, this was 14 years ago um, that this happened. And I knew that I had a lot of work to do on my own with myself. And I still kind of, shifted around and did things the old way for a bunch of years afterwards. Um, until actually about 2022, I started to really think about everything in my life up to that point that had gone right, that had gone wrong, that had gone sideways, that led me off my path. And really, the thing that got to me was the fact that the common denominator of my entire experience was me. So I decided to stop, focusing on the outside sources and started looking inside and discovering gifts that I had that have been long dormant that needed to come out, uh, and started to discover what my purpose really was supposed to be.
And what was the biggest lesson that you learned in that journey?
Biggest lesson that I've learned throughout my entire life is that even though things seemed like they were going to complete hell, um, there was nothing inherently bad about it. It was all a lesson in what I was supposed to be becoming. And, life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. And we just don't see it at that time.
Yeah, that's true. That I think what you just said is come from Tony Robbins is that life doesn't happen against us; it works for us,
Yep.
but we don't see it at the time. At the time, it's hardship, struggles, sweat, tears. But in the end, if you push it through, you're gonna see, okay, now I have become stronger. I have become the person that I needed to become, and we need to. I said it at a previous podcast. Just like a plant needs sunlight and water, we need good and bad things to happen to grow.
Yep.
So I think what you just said is important because people often think that they are alone in this, and that's one of the reasons that I'm doing the podcast is to you know promote that our struggles do not define us.
Hmm.
How we get up from them is what defines us. I don't know if you
Absolutely
agree with
agree
that.
with that. Yes, for sure. It's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up. And each time you get back up, you learn a little lesson and you become a little stronger in the process. And like I said, you don't see it right away. And I think that's the meaning of that old phrase, hindsight is 2020, because as we're going through the moments, we don't see any benefit to some of the bad shit that happens to us. And from there, it can take months, it can take days, it can take years, it can take decades to finally be like, oh my God, so that's why that happened. I see it now.
Yeah,
You
it would
know,
take a long time. It took a long time for me.
it took a really long time for me too. I lived and repeated the same stuff year in and year out for 40 some years of my life. And then I finally hit the light bulb, you know, and said, hey, I need to stop looking outside for validation. I need to start accepting myself for who I am, and what I'm here to do. And, accept that we do all have a purpose, and it just sometimes takes longer for some to achieve it than others. All a part of the plan.
It's all part of the plan. That's right. And from when you find that purpose inside that storm, does that lead to what are you doing today in your life?
Absolutely does. Yes.
Can you please tell us more about it?
Sure. In my journey of personal growth and spirituality and everything else, I when I was younger, I had experiences with things that are considered paranormal. Um, seeing spirits, hearing spirits, um, sensing energies and all that, but I never really knew what it all meant back then. And to be honest, when I started my own personal journey, it was because I wanted to be a better paranormal investigator, which is something that I was doing as a hobby as I grew up. So I just kind of was like, all right, God, whatever is out there listening, can you please help me get these gifts back that I had, so I can see spirits again, so I can sense the energy, so I can have words to describe the things that I'm experiencing. And from there, you know, it led me to other, I guess, psychic gifts, if you want to say. I developed an affinity for pendulum divination, and that's one of the ways I use to communicate with spirit. And through that is when, spirit came to me one day and said, your purpose in life is now that you're supposed to be a teacher, a guide, and a coach. And back then, I had no idea even what a life coach was. But I was like, okay, who am I to argue with a divine calling? So I kind of threw myself fully into it and really not knowing what I was doing, just took that leap of faith, and I keep moving forward every single day, trying to achieve everything that I'm supposed to achieve, knowing that the journey is the goal. It's not the end game. You know, there's really no end game to growth and learning and discovering who we are. And that's really the purpose of life is, figuring out who we are, what we really are, and what we're capable of.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to mention something that is really important for people to listen to. We will go to a store, we will learn from it, but don't think that it stops there. Another one will come because that's life. And in each single one, you will learn a lesson. And in that lesson, you will become stronger. You will become the person that you need to be. I know I just went through 3 years of journey of going through surgeries, but I know our next one will come. I don't know what, but it will come, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And
Oh
we
yeah,
will have to realize that is not what we said before. It's not like working against us. It's working for us, but we don't see it at the time. So we will have to, think of ourselves, dig in. And for you, it was a great example because for you, it led you to what you're doing today. Today, my journey led me to doing the podcast, to writing my own book, to post videos on Instagram because, we find that purpose sometimes when we are alone in our thoughts rather than focusing on distractions in the outside world. What do you think?
exactly. That's exactly right. The greatest gift we can give to ourselves really is to spend some time and retreat into our own little personal darkness and just focus on ourselves and just quiet the noise of the world because it's trying to, that all that external noise is doing is just distracting. It's keeping us from really facing all the garbage that we have going on in our own lives and just accepting it and then moving on. So, yeah, evolving into who we are supposed to be really does start with, the acceptance that life can really suck sometimes, but nothing in life really has a meaning that unless we give it to it. And, we create our reality with our thoughts, and so many bad things happen to so many people because that's all they focus on is the negative. And then so the universe basically is like, okay, well, you're going to focus on that. Well, here's more of it. for you to focus on. And I've actually really started to believe that, and it's so much easier to believe that, everything negative is just piling up than it is to, focus on, even though things suck right now, I know things will change, and you focus on that positive. So the universe basically has to give you more things to be, positive about, to be grateful for. You show gratitude in everything, you start attracting more things to be grateful for. I know it all sounds kind of cliche, but there's a reason for that because it's really true.
No, I think it's an important for what you say, gratitude. I said this many times, but we sometimes wake up in the morning and not a lot of people get that to get to wake up, right? So we have had to be grateful that we woke up. We have food in our table. We have a roof over us. There are many things that we aren't grateful normally. That if
Hmm.
we started to focus on them, we will think, "Oh my God, I'm so blessed. Right? I have all these things. I have friends. I have family. And I know a lot of people out there in the world don't have. So, we have to be grateful for those kind of things. And once we focus on the positive, we can definitely change our mindset and put our focus on, what we can do here. What is the positive things that I can get out of here? I know this sucks right now, but if I focus on the positive or the things that I have, what can I get out of this storm?
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Okay,
Focus
so
on the
Daniel,
good, focus on the good, even if it seems like it's mundane, something, as simple as waking up, as having food on our table, as having a roof over our head, having a vehicle to drive, having some place to be, having someone to love. We may think of it as, ho hum, yeah, this is just normal. It's really every second of every day is a miracle and should be grateful for it.
yeah, we should. And I think that's a good point. So Daniel, I wanted to ask, what would you like your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to just be that I've gone through storms that a lot of people couldn't even imagine and have come out stronger. And that if I can do things like, you know, have the worst negative mindset of all time and have a inner voice that screams at you to, you know, live up to the expectations that everybody else gave me throughout my life, which was not very high. Um, the voice that said, you're worthless, you're not able to do this, you're not able to do that, to live through storms and then come out and be thankful for everything. If I can do that, anybody can. So, my legacy is to try to make the world a better place, and to spread truth of, you know, what love is, what God is, what, spirit wants people to know, and guide people back into knowing where they were from and remembering what they knew when they got here.
Perfect. Is where can people go find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn at Coach Daniel Anderson. I'm on YouTube at the Soul Searcher Society. My website is coachdanielanderson.com, and I'm on Instagram, spirituality.purpose.
Perfect. I will leave all those links down in the description for everybody. If you want to go follow Daniel on all his socials, I will leave those in the description. So Daniel, before we go, is there anything that you would like to leave for the audience?
A couple simple little things. The first is, you know, as human beings, we never realize how lost we really are until we turn inward and find ourselves. And once you do that, everything seems to be a lot more clear. Remember that you are able to create the life you want to live by focusing on, having a laser focus on what you want in your life. You are a creator, and you are not separate from the divine. You're not separate from God, from source. You are an extension. uh, each of us are spirit beings living in a body, having a human experience, and basically, you know, experiencing life here and by experiencing life here, we're also experiencing ourselves, and learning and growing from that. So, we're spiritual beings having a human existence. We're not humans have with a soul. We're a soul with a body. And don't be afraid of anything. The only things that are going through your mind that cause fear is the ego, and that's just trying to keep us safe. You can accomplish whatever you desire if you put the work in.
I couldn't agree more. So thank you, Daniel, for coming into the podcast, for being my guest. I hope that we are able to change someone else's life out there in the world. And thank you for those that are listening in. Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with people that you love so that we can spread this message. Thank you again, Daniel, for coming into the podcast.
Yep. Thank you for having me, and keep up the good work. Keep doing what you're doing. The world needs it.
Thank you. Thank you. So may God bless you all. May all take care. Goodbye.